we are going to talk about caregiving, and I'm going to bring up my friend and former colleague, Phylene Wiggins. Phylene and I work together at the Santa Barbara Foundation, and Phylene is actually the brain behind the Caregiving Initiative, and I'm going to let her all talk about that, but we love our caregivers. Phylene.
Thank you, Jan. Can you hear me? I can't quite hear myself, so I just want to make sure. Okay, so caregiving. Wow, this is a giant topic. I'm going to ask a few questions first. So how many of you are currently caregiving? Or, do you know? Okay. How many of you have been caregivers? Keep your hands up. Okay, and how many of you have ever needed care? Okay, so it looks like we have some familiarity with this experience in the room. So, as we all know, aging brings inevitable changes, and some of those we can manage and accommodate on our own, but others we're going to need assistance with. So, every caregiving situation is as individual and has its individual situations, but there are some common threads that run through caregiving. And anyway, at a time when we're all we're all needing care, more and more of, sorry, let me give just a sec. I need to reorganize my stuff here. Okay, can you still hear me? Okay, good. Okay, so it's really important that we do all that we can to support caregivers, because the need for care is continuing to increase. In fact, you know, the average age, this is long-term care insurance information, but the average age when people start needing care really is around age 82. And, you know, when we're looking at the age wave that is creeping in, the baby boomers are turning 77 this year. So that gives us a little about 5 years before the wave is really going to start crashing. And that tide is just going to keep coming in. And so it's really important that we remind ourselves that we are all going to be, there are going to be demands for care placed on us. So we are truly, anybody who is a caregiver is truly the safety net that's hiding in plain sight. We're the ones that really support those older adults that are needing the care. So Rosalind Carter, I think, yes, that's the former First Lady, you all probably know that name, was one of the first to publicly identify the importance of caregiving. And after she and President Jimmy Carter left office, her idea was to focus her energy on mental health. And after she talked to families that were impacted by mental health issues, she saw the toll that caregiving was taking, because she was talking to family members, right? So the meetings that she held were really, really emotional. And they left such an impact on Mrs. Carter that in 1987, think about that, a long time ago, in 1987, she founded the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregiving. So I'd like to start by sharing some words of wisdom from that voice, because Mrs. Carter has been doing this for a long time, and she's now in the place where she's receiving care, as probably a lot of you know. So this is what she says about caregivers. Caregivers are the selfless people who provide unpaid care for loved ones who are ill or who have serious medical conditions. This is among the most challenging work there is. Being a caregiver requires infinite patience, physical and emotional strength, healthcare navigation skills, and a sense of humor, which can be hard to come by after sleepless nights and demanding days. Caregiving is hard, even on good days, when it brings joy and fulfillment. It requires dedication, determination, and time. And one of the words of wisdom that you'll hear her say, and part of what I asked you earlier, is there's only 4 kinds of people in the world. Those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. I think that's all of us. So this is why this is so important, and especially as we age, when our health is becoming more compromised or failing, or we're dealing with the issues that we have to encounter every day. So care requires at least two people, a caregiver and a care receiver. And it's this caring relationship that really helps us navigate as we age and decline. I want to just start by briefly mentioning the cost of care, just to give you some thoughts about this, because caregiving choices vary. And as I said, every situation is individual. Some of us have the benefit of financial resources to pay for care, and some of us don't. But in either case, planning for care is important. So care, if you can pay for care, it is expensive. According to 2020 figures, costs can run from approximately $1,800 per month just for adult day services, to $12,000 a month if you're in a nursing home and you have a private room. So that can get really expensive when you're on a fixed income and a budget. If you have the financial means or long-term care insurance, this might be an option, but still, you're going to need someone to be your advocate in those situations. So even if you're caregiving for somebody that's in a facility, there's still a need for engagement. But truly, unpaid caregiving is the norm in the United States. And studies show that 87% of long-term care is provided by unpaid family caregivers. But just because a caregiver isn't paid doesn't mean that there's no cost. So in our country, 48 million of us are providing unpaid care to a family member or friend. Nearly 8 in 10 caregivers report expending routine out-of-pocket expenses for their loved ones, and that typical amount is around $7,300 as of 2021. So those expenses can include like helping with rent or home modifications or medical expenses, among other things. But having a family or friend caregiver allows people to age at home, which is, as we heard, what people want to do if possible, or in a place where they're comfortable and known. And generally, if you have a family member or a friend caring for you, your financial means can be preserved longer. So, but let's look at the experience of caregiving. So that's just some data and just some context for this particular season of life. The caregiving season is really a bittersweet season, and caregiving can happen suddenly, where it's precipitated by a health crisis, or it can be a gradual process that's related. Excuse me, can I grab some of this? Okay. Anyway, or it can be a gradual process that's related to the care receiver's decline. Whatever the case, caregivers find themselves in roles that they are often unprepared for or ill-equipped to manage. So they can be, here are the different kinds of things, and I'm sure if you've had experience caregiving, there might be even more than this, but a healthcare advocate. A care provider, meaning you're handling medical procedures and helping, say, with wound care or prescription management. Household managers, transportation providers, financial wizards, insurance experts, and essentially chief coordinators is basically what happens as caregiving progresses. So there's a lot of different hats that you have to start taking on and new things that you have to learn. So it really requires the ability to adapt is what I think the right word is. But, you know, as caregiving roles evolve and the spouses and children become now the parents and the advocates. And on the good side, or maybe not the good side, but let's just say the blessing side of this, the shift in relational patterns can open a door to new conversations and new self-reflections. And caregiving can become a time for relationship healing. You may have heard of Dr. Ira Byock. He's a palliative care physician. He spoke here in Santa Barbara a few years ago, but he talks about simple phrases that can really carry enormous power to mend and heal and nurture relationships and are in our lives. And those phrases there's 4 of them, so I'm going to just say them slowly and you can think about them. Please forgive me. I forgive you. Thank you, and I love you. So these 4 phrases and the sentiments that they convey can really help us resolve some of the interpersonal difficulties with integrity and grace. And caring can help be the motivation that opens the door to those kind of conversations, and to communicate those feelings to those we're caring for or those that are caring for us. So, and one of the other blessings, and remember this is bittersweet, so I'm on the good side right now. Caring can be an opportunity to love beyond words, and even small gestures like just holding open a door for somebody can help us communicate feelings to those that we care for. I've often heard it said that care is love in action, and I really believe that to be true. My mother passed away a few years ago, and that was my experience as we kind of walk through some of this. So on the other side of things, the challenges of caregiving. So those need to be acknowledged and addressed. But one of the major ones is the failure to self-identify. Caregiving, like I said, will affect us all at some point, but oftentimes caregivers don't call themselves that, and you don't necessarily need to call yourself that, but you need to somehow acknowledge the role. But too often we hear caregivers say, well, I'm just the daughter, I'm the wife, I'm the husband, I'm the friend, I'm the neighbor. Yes, you are those, but if you provide things like grocery shopping, wound care, prescription management, cooking, cleaning, or personal care at home, you are a caregiver, and you deserve to be seen and supported. So many of our systems, especially I think of healthcare in particular, focus on the care receiver, meaning like the patient. The patient is the care receiver, and we look at that person to the exclusion of everything else that's going on in their lives. But the unfortunate reality is that these systems set us up to consider ourselves to be invisible because that's how we're treated. So it's not all our fault for not claiming that title, but we need to be mindful of that. So acknowledging your caregiver status is really important. And wherever you find yourself on that caregiving journey, it's just a gift to know that your community supports you and you are not alone. So thank you.